Vietnam allowing flights from Japan for the first time after months of shutting borders. Vietnam sees the lowest second quarter GDP growth in 10 years. Many opportunities for investment from the United States into Vietnam. Supports for enterprises to effectively utilize the EU market. Quang Ninh to develop nighttime economy. Hello and welcome to FBNC News Weekly. This is Trin with the latest updates from Vietnam. Now, a plane full of Japanese business travelers landed in Vietnam on June 25th, marking the first flight between the two countries since they imposed border restrictions in a bid to stop the spread of coronavirus. Vietnam almost completely sealed off its borders to foreign nationals in March, while Japan currently bans residents of more than 100 countries and regions, including Vietnam, allowing a chartered flight arranged by the Japanese Chambers of Commerce in Vietnam from Tokyo's Narita's airport to northern Vietnam on Thursday. About 150 passengers had their temperatures checked before flying, were tested for coronavirus on arrival, and are now quarantined for 2 weeks in a hotel. 2 other chartered flights are scheduled to run on Friday and Saturday, transporting a total of 440 people from Japan to Vietnam. It's the first step toward opening borders between the two countries, with Japan's foreign ministry saying earlier last month that it is working to relax rules on travel with Vietnam. But for now, tourists aren't included in the plans. Japan and Vietnam both appear to have brought their outbreaks under control. Japan has reported more than 18,000 cases and 971 deaths, while Vietnam has reported only 352 cases and no deaths. Japan and Vietnam are the latest to start slowly reopening borders as countries all over the world balance the need to keep their citizens safe and kickstart their economies. One idea that is being discussed in a number of regions are so-called travel bubbles, that is reopening borders but only to residents of selected countries. According to the General Statistics Office, the second quarter GDP growth is estimated to be 0.36% compared to the same period in 2019. This is the smallest growth ever been recorded within 10 years. Particularly, the agriculture, forestry and seafood sectors have a growth rate of 1.72%, the industry and construction sectors of 1.38%, and the services sector of 1.76%. The influence of COVID-19 pandemic to the economy is attributed to these changes. Compared to the 1.81% GDP growth in the first half of this year, this is the smallest growth within the last 10 years. Regarding the Vietnam's economic structure in the first half of 2020, the agriculture, forestry and seafood sectors account for 14.16% of totals, while the industry and construction sectors and the services sector account for 33.44% and 42.04% respectively. And also, according to the General Statistics Office, after 4 months of continuous decrease due to the reduce in total demand, the national CPI in June has seen a surprise growth of 0.66%, a pretty high growth rate compared to May. The 3 subsequent growth of petroleum prices and the growth of pork price in the early June have attributed to this growth. In the 6-month average, the national CPI has 4.19% growth compared to 2019. Highest in the last 5 years. Foreign investment commitments to Vietnam in the first half of this year decreased 15.1% year-on-year to more than $15 billion. A report from the Ministry of Planning and Investment has shown. In the period, 1,418 new projects were licensed with a total registered capital of $8.44 billion, down 18% in the number of projects, but up 14% in capital year-on-year. According to the agency, a surge in newly registered foreign direct investment in the 6-month period was attributable to the 400 billion liquefied natural gas plant project in the southern province of Bạc Liêu, accounting for 47.4% of fresh FDI commitments. At the same time, 526 existing projects were allowed to add $3.7 billion, up 27% in capital. Among 18 sectors receiving foreign capital, the processing and manufacturing industry attracted the most with more than $8 billion, or 51% of the total. Electricity production and distribution came next with $3.95 billion, or 25%, followed by wholesale and retail with $1.08 billion and real estate with nearly $850 million. From January to June, Singapore remained the largest foreign investor of Vietnam, pumping $5.44 billion, or equivalent to 34.7% of the total. Other main investors include Thailand, China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Country experts expressed hope that after Vietnam resumes international air routes, more investors will come to the country and the FDI flows will bounce back later this year, thus creating momentum for the years to come. July 1995 marked the establishment of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and USA. From there on, the relations have been comprehensively developed in many aspects. However, America's FDI to Vietnam is considered somewhat lacking compared to its potentials. Recently, there have been many signs showing its positive improvement. The Gentherm Corporation has inaugurated the factory that manufactures air conditioning products for car and other industries at Hà Nam with a total investment of $12.6 million just after a year of construction.
With the workforce, with the business support, and so we are looking forward, to continue growing our business here, and we also hope that through good relationship between the US and Vietnamese.
As for now, many famous U.S. brands such as Citigroup, American Group, Intel, Chevron, Ford, Starwood Hotel, AIA, etc. have already got a solid position in the Vietnam's market. However, FDI from the U.S. to Vietnam is still somewhat lacking. As of the end of 2019, the total registered investment capital of American enterprises in Vietnam reached more than $11 billion, ranked 11th among countries and territories with investment projects in Vietnam.
Thì nhiều nhà đầu tư của Mỹ hiện tại đang tính đến cái chuyện là di rời cái dây chuyền sản xuất kinh doanh của họ sang một nước thứ ba. Thế thì giữa Mỹ và Việt Nam đang có một cái quan hệ về thương mại, về ngoại giao rất là tốt.
Sure. Well, I think that a lot of companies around the world already recognize that Vietnam is a good place to do business. It's a country where people can do more. And we've had people over the last few years really looking closely to see, can they manufacture more here?
In many meetings, all the missions of the U.S. enterprises have positive appraisals of the business environment in Vietnam. The representative of the U.S. ABC said that many IT enterprises in the Silicon Valley have already planned to relocate the production of electronic equipment to Vietnam by greenfield investment or conducting an international joint venture. This is a new sign showing many opportunities in attracting U.S. foreign investment to the local markets. After the National Assembly passed the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, many agricultural sectors, especially rice, have taken the advantage to have their products exported to the EU markets. However, unlike the traditional ones, the EU market requires its suppliers to ensure the production of high-quality rice. The way this rice paddy is planted is in line with the export standards established by the underwrite. Farmers must align with the protocols to make clean and high-quality rice in every step in the production process. Although this is the first season to apply the new production protocols, the change in quality of their rice paddies has been instantly recognized by the farmers.
Những ngày mình cấy thì nó bình thường thì lúa nó chỉ được 6.000 cân, nhưng mà đây lúa này thì nó cao hơn là 6 và 7.500 là họ thu mua tại ruộng.
The production of clean rice through focused models with large areas is now a trend to improve the income quality for the farmers. Local cooperatives are acting as a focal point that operates like an entrepreneur in terms of renting lands and creating jobs for farmers.
Mục đích của công ty đấy là xây dựng một cái cánh đồng lớn, sản xuất tập trung theo cái là chỉ đạo của cái đối tác người ta hợp đồng với mình.
The Red River Delta's rice products are originally determined to meet domestic demands, while the Mekong Delta's products are for exports. However, this assumption is changing among the entrepreneurs that invest in agriculture, especially with the market facilitation stimulated by the Evfta. Rice products from the Red River Delta are facing their life-changing opportunity as the rice export quotas from Vietnam to EU are no longer limited.
Phù sa từ sông Ninh Cơ hoặc những cái dòng sông nhánh nó mang một dư lượng phù sa rất lớn sau khi mưa bão vào với đồng bằng và làm nguồn tưới tiêu mà chúng tôi không phải bón lót mà chỉ cần bón thúc thôi. Thì đấy là những cái tiêu chuẩn để không tồn dư kim loại nặng trong lúa.
However, EU is a market with high quality requirements. Therefore, in order to export to this market, entrepreneurs and farmers have to produce a variety that can meet the demands of senior market segmentations.
Gạo hữu cơ, gạo chất lượng cao là một cái phân khúc mà chúng ta đang tích cực triển khai, đặc biệt với những cái việc mà đồng bộ hóa các cái khung khổ thể chế như nghị định về nông nghiệp hữu cơ, như là nghị định về xuất khẩu gạo, vân vân, thì chúng ta đã tạo lập một cái bước đầu là để mà đón nhận những cái cơ hội này.
According to a representative at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, rice in the EU market has very high quality standards despite the low consumption. Therefore, the only rice products that have the export advantage are the specialty and organic varieties. The EU Quality Standards certification issued by independent and peer-reviewed organizations is what Vietnamese entrepreneurs need to have in order to export their rice products. Recently, with the help of the Ministry of Industry and Trade and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, the Ho Chi Minh City People's Committee has hosted an event called Business Support for Vietnamese Enterprises in Agriculture, Forestry and Seafood sectors to effectively utilize the EU market under Evfta.
In 2019, the export quotas related to the agriculture, forestry, and seafood sectors of Vietnam in the EU market reached $5 billion. With the Evfta about to be effective, almost all tariff lines will be removed, and these sectors will be exposed to many opportunities. Challenges will also be raised in the process, namely the strict requirements regarding quality, food hygiene, and safety.
Khi dung lượng thị trường mà mở ra như thế thì cái tần suất kiểm tra, khối lượng kiểm tra, quy trình kiểm tra người ta sẽ nghiêm khắc hơn. Do đó đây là một cái thách thức. Cái thách thức thứ hai trong điều kiện hoàn cảnh nhất định của chúng ta, khi mà sản xuất nông nghiệp còn nhỏ lẻ là phổ biến thì cái tính đồng nhất trong hàng hóa là sẽ là một vấn đề.
In the future, the agriculture sectors will focus on restructuring productions with large-scale goods approach, building raw material areas with processing capabilities and ensuring the quality of the products from the very beginning. In addition, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Industry and Trade are also developing a decree guiding the registration and certification of rice pre-export, together with issuing guidelines on certificates of products' origin when exported to the EU market so that enterprises can be more proactive.
The northern province of Quang Ninh is aiming to boost its nighttime economy to attract visitors. The Provincial People's Committee assigned the Department of Planning and Investment to pilot model by selecting appropriate locations and devising policies to appeal to businesses and investors. Main activities will include cultural services, entertainment, dining, shopping, and tours. Quang Ninh is a tourism hub in Vietnam and home to the World Natural Heritage Site of Hạ Long Bay. In 2019, it welcomed nearly 12 million tourists, including over 4 million foreigners. A number of nighttime activities were held last year, such as International Circus Festival, the Hạ Long International Musical Fest, night markets, walking streets, music shows, and food festivals. By 2030, 100% of supermarkets and shopping malls will distribute and use environmentally friendly packaging materials in replacement of disposable plastic packaging. This is one of the 4 goals that Vietnam aims to achieve in the National Action Plan on Sustainable Production and Consumption for the period of 2021 to 2030. Deputy Prime Minister Trịnh Dũng has signed a decision approving the National Action Plan on Sustainable Production and Consumption for the period of 2021 to 2030. The plan has been designed with the aim to promote the effective and sustainable management, exploitation, and use of natural resources, fuels, and materials. It also encourages the development of environment-friendly, renewable, reusable, and recyclable resources, fuels, materials, and products. The plan will promote models of sustainable production and consumption, thus creating green and stable jobs, advocating a sustainable lifestyle towards better life quality and a circular economy in the country. In the period of 2021 to 2030, the plan sets the goal of reducing fuel and material use of production industries, such as textile garment, steel, plastic, chemicals, cement, beverage, paper, and aquatic products processing by 7 to 10%. Between 20 to 30 models of sustainable production and consumption will be developed, and 100% of supermarkets and shopping malls will distribute and use environmentally friendly packaging materials in replacement of disposable plastic packaging. Enterprises will receive support to adopt sustainable practices in import, export, and provided with guidance materials regarding international regulations, requirements, and commitments on environmental protection and sustainable development. Now that has been FBNC News for this week. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Goodbye.